When I talk with parents about the cause of DLD, the first thing that I really like to emphasize is that this is not their fault. Nothing that you did caused your child to have developmental language disorder. Nothing that you didn't do caused your child to have developmental language disorder. This diagnosis is not related to the amount of screen time they've had or the amount that you've talked to them or not talked to them. On that note, I do strongly recommend reducing screen time for your child with DLD, not because it causes DLD, but because it can help them learn language better when they are interacting with you as opposed to staring at a screen. If you feel like you should have moved forward with getting help earlier, or if you find yourself continually questioning why you didn't know or admit to yourself earlier that something serious was going on or that your child had a problem, I'm here to say that we need to let all of that go. As parents, we are all trying to do our best, and we receive so many messages about how we need to have our child in this lesson or that lesson, and we need to provide these types of snacks and not those types of snacks. It never ends. There's so much on us as parents. The fact that you are here right now, the fact that you are taking this step to increase your knowledge and your understanding, that is what matters. We need to let go of any feelings related to guilt or what you think you should or shouldn't have done because, and I'm going to be blunt here, we can't move forward if we get stuck in that. Nobody is a perfect parent. I'm not a perfect parent, but we are all here because we love kids and we want to move forward. I want to acknowledge just how challenging this journey can be. If you're struggling with significant anxiety or depression related to your child's challenges, please reach out to a psychotherapist, social worker, or counselor who can help you process your feelings so you can best support your child. You need to put on your own oxygen mask first, and working with a professional can be an amazing source of help and coping skills or strategies, as well as reframing thoughts you may have. I'm so proud of you for being here, no matter where you are at on your journey parenting a child with DLD. So why does your child have DLD? If it's not because of screen time, it's not because of how much you've spoken to them, why do they have it? Well, the short answer is we don't fully know. There's just not enough research yet that shows definitively why a child may have it. What we do know is that there certainly is a genetic component and that children with DLD have subtle differences in their brains as compared with other children. If a close family member has DLD or dyslexia, your child is definitely at an increased likelihood of also having DLD. Sometimes we see families where multiple siblings have it, or where a parent also has it, or an aunt or an uncle also has it, so that is common. There certainly is a genetic component. There are also environmental factors, including potential nutritional deficiencies. There is evidence that very early on in life, a thiamine deficiency can cause problems with language acquisition. Also, if a child has a low birth weight or is premature, or there are complications during the pregnancy or delivery, there seems to also be an increased risk of having DLD. However, many kids born at full term with no birth complications also have DLD. Moms should never blame themselves for a traumatic birth because nothing you did caused your child to have DLD, and a traumatic birth is never the mama's fault. I've encountered these distressing, obsessive feelings in mothers more times than I care to count, and I want to encourage you that getting caught up in that and ruminating on those feelings will not help you or your child. Reach out to a therapist for yourself if you need help processing those feelings so that you can be present for yourself and for your child. On this note, some parents who feel guilty or desperate to help their child can get caught up in what sounds like quick fixes. Who wouldn't want to just order a product and in a week or two see their child's problems evaporate? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. A case in point is the fish oil fad that is running rampant on the internet. I'm not against fish oil supplements, but they can get expensive and can take up time and resources that could otherwise be spent on effective therapy. A huge review of studies investigating the relationship between DHA and language development by Golick and colleagues was published in 2020. They reviewed the evidence available from many scientific studies and found 4 instances where the group receiving fish oil supplements had improved scores compared to participants who didn't take fish oil, 2 instances where the DHA group actually had worse scores, and the remaining 78 assessments they reviewed showed no impact of DHA on language development. I advise parents to speak with their pediatrician prior to giving their children supplements, as a DHA deficiency doesn't cause DLD, and supplements are certainly not a magic cure, and again, can be quite expensive or can distract from evidence-based intervention. Also, we do not know the effect of excessively high doses of DHA or what an appropriate dose may be. There are anecdotes that a child's language skills started to burst shortly after starting fish oil supplements, but such a burst could have been caused by many things, and research shows DHA supplementation is very likely not the cause. I'd advise parents to focus their efforts on evidence-based practices and take fish oil if recommended by their pediatrician. Another myth we need to let go of is language exposure being a contributing factor to a DLD diagnosis. Of course, if a child is severely deprived in a case of neglect or abuse, lack of language exposure can be a factor. But in general, not talking as much to our kids as our sister-in-law talks to her kids doesn't cause DLD. Also, the fact that we may have 2 or 3 or even 4 languages in our home, that also doesn't cause it. So, if grandma on dad's side only speaks Mandarin to your child, and then at home you speak a combination of English and French, and then grandma on mom's side is speaking Tamil to the child, so they have some exposure to those 4 languages, that is not going to cause DLD. The human brain has a remarkable capacity to learn multiple languages. And when you think about it, most people around the world do speak at least 2 languages. In North America, we have a fair amount of monolingualism, but if you live in Europe, Asia, or Africa, you are so much more likely to speak 2, 3, sometimes even 4 or more languages, and that does not cause developmental language disorder.